Welcome back. I'm your host, Renata McElveny, a creativity coach for neurodivergent and multi passionate women of color. And in this show, we talk about all things creativity as it relates to our self discovery and healing. And today, we are going to be talking about what it feels like to be disconnected from ourselves. Because if you're like me, you likely haven't thought about what this looks like. I know that we hear often, if you're in the world of personal growth and healing, that we need to connect with our true selves. But a lot of us are walking around thinking we're fine. We don't really know what this means or why we should be doing this. I think it's really important to be able to take a step back and recognize what the signs are and why this is important to pay attention to. So if this sounds interesting to you, please stick around. I think this is going to be a really good one. And let's get into it. So let's start by chatting a little bit about one of the first signs that shows up when we are disconnected from ourselves is being too invested in other people. I think we can all relate to this, especially because we have been conditioned to be women who take care of other people, who nurture others, to really focus on what other people are doing and what they're needing and trying to be there for them all the time. I think this really gets reinforced in family and in friendships. I know that was the case for me, where I was really attached to friends and I would want to make decisions for them. It was almost as if I was making or doing the emotional labor of figuring out their lives. And whenever they would be making a questionable decision, I felt very invested. And that caused a lot of bitterness, a lot of disappointment, a lot of hurt because I was trying to control another person's life. And as I've come to learn, other people's lives are really not up to us. But nonetheless, we get very invested in what they're doing. The next sign that you might be disconnected from yourself is not being aware of how you feel in your body. I am so guilty of this one. For the longest time, I did not think being connected to my body had any importance. I didn't really think I needed to do that. I really focused on the intellectual. I was stuck in my head. I would think my way through life, and I felt like all the answers were in my head. I think that really speaks to the kind of relationship that I had to my body. I didn't like it. I didn't feel good in it because I was always criticized growing up, or I didn't like how I looked because I didn't fit the beauty standard that our society praises. I realized that whenever people would ask me, "How are you feeling today?" It took me a while to tune into what I was feeling. I really had to stop and ask myself, "How are you feeling?" I wasn't in touch with my own body. The next sign that you are disconnected from yourself is when you fear being alone. And oh my goodness, all these signs really hit home for me. But this one in particular, it feels like the people that are more gregarious tend to be seen as more trustworthy. Subconsciously, we buy into this belief that we have to have a lot of people around us. For me, this looked like accepting just about anybody as a friend and being very invested in them, even if these people were problematic, even if these people were not very helpful and didn't bring any value to my life. I still felt it was better than being alone. I never stopped to think, what do I feel? What do I think about them? Am I having a good time? The next sign that you're likely disconnected from yourself is that you likely don't know what you like or interests you. So, building on the last point, when we are really distracted by what other people want from us, we really lose track of what it is that we like and what interests us. We almost adopt the values, the desires of other people. This is also very much the way that the larger mainstream society works. It forces us to adopt values that we might not necessarily really believe, but we do it out of wanting to belong, out of wanting to be accepted. So many people that I know have spent their whole life pretending to be something they're not, pretending that they like things that they really hate and don't actually enjoy. And then they wonder why they're so unhappy. They're so frustrated with the way that their life is going. It's so important that we hold on to the things that make us who we are. I see this a lot with moms who spend a lot of time with their kids and they love giving them their whole selves to their kids and stop hanging out with their friends. They stop creating. They don't spend time doing their hobbies. They don't put time into doing something that makes them happy. And so if all you're doing is taking care of other people and always thinking about what everyone else needs, you are going to feel bitter. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel frustrated because there's no time for you. We can't just do work all the time and we can't just be focused on being servants for other people. We have to live for us. The last sign that you are likely disconnected from your true self is that you're likely spending a lot of time doing things that you hate. One of the main ways that this showed up for me was being in jobs that I absolutely hated. And I felt like I had to do it. I had to work a job where I didn't really connect with the people. I didn't really like what I was doing day to day, but it was paying the bills. There's some truth to that. There's times in our lives when we have to make sacrifices, where we have to compromise because that's the right thing to do in that moment. But when we take that pattern and we make it our whole life, it really can be damaging. It can destroy our spirit, our sense of liveliness in our own life. We think we have to suffer, we think we have to struggle, and everything just has to be bad, right? There's also a lot of shame around being honest with ourselves and saying, you know what, I really would like to do drawing. I would love to paint. I would love to travel, but I don't feel like I deserve it. I don't feel that I've done enough to earn this thing. And that's the craziest thing. We believe we have to earn our joy. And I just want you to let that sink in. Is this you? Do you feel like you have to earn your joy? I know I have been here for a really long time, and it's been up until recently that I have started to really recognize just how much I hold myself back, how much I limit myself because I think that I'm not allowed to enjoy myself. And this really shows up in creativity. For example, I did not use my favorite art supplies, the expensive ones, the ones that are really yummy to work with, for such a long time because I thought I'll just wait until there's an actual project that is worthy of these materials. I won't use this expensive watercolor paper because I don't want to ruin it with some crappy doodle. I kept doing that and I realized that it got to a point where I was afraid of using all my materials because I just didn't feel like anything that I was making was worthwhile. We are always waiting for another time in the future where we can actually enjoy ourselves. The question that I always pose to clients and even to myself is, when is that time going to be right? How will you let yourself go there if you haven't practiced? If you have been telling yourself that you're not allowed to do those things until it's the right time. If you resonated with any of the things that I talked about, you are likely disconnected from your true self. But here's the truth: you are valuable, worthy, and whole as you are. You are worthy of love, true friendship, and care. And you need to start putting yourself first. But for this to happen, you need to recognize your own worth as a person. And this cannot happen by someone else telling you this. You have to really believe it within yourself. Now, I want to offer you some reflection prompts that will help you to dive deeper into some of these ideas that we talked about today. And the first prompt is to write about what parts of yourself, of your true self, are you hiding due to fear of rejection? The second prompt that I want you to write about is to reflect on who you would be if you could be your most authentic, playful, fun self. What would that look like? I hope these prompts really help you to start to tap into your real desires, your real wants and needs, and that you start to gain clarity on what this looks like. We have come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and hit like if you're watching on YouTube. Also, sign up for my newsletter. I send weekly emails with alerts of the latest podcast episodes, offerings, and updates. The link is in the show's description. Thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you on the next one. Until then, stay creative. Bye.